to another episode of Relative Pitch. We are joined here today for season 2, episode 5, with our lovely, oh my gosh, like former professor and amazing pianist and person overall, performer, everything you can possibly imagine, Julie Coucheron.
Thanks for having me. It's so good to see you guys.
It's so wonderful seeing you, and for everyone who doesn't know, like we all at some point have had, I believe, has everyone had Julie as a professor?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it was at KSU, of course, that's where we all met. And it's so great getting to continue these relationships like past, like undergrad and everything. And it's great to be able to talk to you and chat and just see everything that you've been up to. So, how are you? Like, what are you up to nowadays?
I'm doing great. I am still kind of doing a little bit of everything. I'm performing, I'm teaching, I'm a professor at KSU still. I'm not traveling as much because of, a certain illness going around. But it's definitely starting back up. So it's just, I'm kind of doing a little bit of everything, which is great. So continue on doing that.
That's awesome. And so, like, just give us a little bit of a background about who you are, like how you began your musical journey, and like just how you actually got over to the States and specifically KSU.
Right. So I was born and raised in Norway, and I lived there until I was about 13, 12, 13. And then I moved to Philadelphia, and I was there for about 2 years. And then after that, I moved to London, where I started my studies at Royal Academy of Music. I was there for about 7 years, did my bachelor's, my master's, and my teaching degree diploma there. And then after being there for about 7, 8 years, I moved to New York. At that time, my brother David, who's a violinist, he got the position as concertmaster for the Atlanta Symphony Orchestra. And we play a lot together. We kind of grew up, playing together, and we're very close too. So when he got that job, we started performing more and more together in the US. And so it made sense for me to be a little closer. And so we had a condo in New York, where my brother used to live when he went to Juilliard. And I was like, hey, you know what? I'm ready for a change. And I moved kind of very quickly to New York, and didn't know anyone there. Just kind of went up and just did it. I was young at the time. And then I was there for about 2 years. And then meanwhile, when I was there, I did a concert at KSU. And I was doing both a concert and a masterclass. And the director for music at the time was there. And I guess he liked what he saw and heard. And so he actually offered me a position there and then on the day that I was there. And I was like, oh, wow. Like I was quite young at the time. I guess I wasn't that much older than you guys. And so I was a little nervous at first because, I'd been teaching before, but not, at a university position. And so I was like, you know what? Yes, I would love to. And so that's how I kind of ended up in Atlanta. And we did a little pit stop in Chicago on the way. I was there for 2 years too, and then just kind of commuted back and forth to Atlanta. But I've been in Atlanta now for, I would say, 6 years, 5, 6 years permanently. So yeah, so it's great. I love it. It's wonderful.
Oh my goodness. You just travel.
Yep.
Like I'll retell the story a little bit about how much you just travel. For anybody that do not believe how much Julie travels, okay? I had a freshman year for piano. I think my class started at 9 a.m. We looked on her Instagram, and she was like in Florida somewhere, like on the beach. And we're like, she's on the beach. It's class canceled. Like, what's going on? And then right at like a couple minutes before 9, I see Julie walk in, and we're like, how in the world did you get here? Like, oh my goodness, you did, like those years you traveled
Yeah,
a lot.
I did.
Do you miss it? Do you miss traveling? I mean, I know
Um,
this crazy world we're living in, but do you miss it?
yeah. I miss part of it, I guess. I don't love long flights and, I all of the stuff that goes with getting somewhere. I like being there, that's great. But the process to getting there, I don't like so much. Um, I feel like traveling is just getting more and more tiring for me. And I guess also I'm married now and my husband's here and so I like being here with him, but I'm an adventurous person and I like traveling. I like, seeing new things, new cultures, meet new people. And so I like both and I'm very fortunate to be able to do both, so it's great to be here, but it's also wonderful to travel. And, when things open up a little bit more, I'm expecting to do a little more traveling. So I'm getting back into it.
So how do you like this is a big thing for I think all musicians, but especially we saw this a lot from our KSU faculty, like the having to be able to balance like personal life, but also teaching, but also active performing. Because
Yeah.
most professors at KSU, like especially the adjunct and the like woodwind faculty, does I know I had my faculty members for woodwinds, they were traveling all the time and doing
Mhm.
things, and so like how do you find a balance of like being a educator and also being an active performer?
Um, I think it's good. I actually love it because I think it's good to kind of give my experiences to the students in a way and kind of directly so. I try to prepare my students for what's to come. And since I'm kind of doing so many different things, I feel like I have, quite a lot of experience in kind of just preparing them for what's to come after student life. And it's not always easy, like you said, to balance everything. But you just kind of compartmentalize things, right? So it's like, okay, you're doing this now, and then you're doing this now, and then so you try to not kind of just go around in this big swimming pool of different things, but you try to just do one thing at a time. And for me, I love teaching because it kind of it helps me too, like I think I'm a better performer because of the teaching that I do, and I think I'm a better teacher because of the performing that I do. So I think combining all of it together, I think it helps a lot.
So what was it like living in London for
um,
7 like I would been thinking like London. We always think about London, Big Ben and all this stuff. I'm like, so what was it like?
it was very rainy. No, I'm just kidding. That sounds awful. No, I don't actually. It does rain there a lot, but still. What was it like? I loved it actually. I moved there when I was 15. And I grew up pretty fast when I was a kid. I was pretty much living in London by myself when I was 15, and my mom came and helped me out and stuff. But I was mostly by myself, and it was tough sometimes because my university was Royal Academy of Music. It was really strict, and I remember the first like 3 months I was like crying every day. My teachers were super strict, and um I said to myself, I'll give myself 3 months. I won't quit. I'll give myself 3 months. I'll work my butt off for this, and we'll see, how it goes. And it worked. Working your butt off actually works. So I loved it after that time of just kind of just getting used to it, I guess. Being 15 and all these new things. It was a lot. So I had to get used to it. But London was wonderful. I mean, it's such a vibrant, wonderful city with so much to choose from, has all these great orchestras, Broadway, has everything. And so I was super lucky to live there. And I had my college years there, I guess. And it's very different to college here, like university there. Like we don't have the same stuff that you guys have. And so it was mostly me sitting and practicing and studying most of the time. But I did go out a fair bit amount too. I was fun too, I promise.
And so, like, you earned both a bachelor's and a master's in, I'm guessing, piano performance, and then
Mhm.
you got a teaching certificate after. So, what I know here in the States, we have a teaching certificate that performance majors can do. What was that like in London? Is it rigorous? How is that?
Yeah, it was. It's from the University of London, so it's kind of a separate thing to the Royal Academy of Music, but they worked together when I took it. And it's funny actually because one of the things that I had to do was to learn a different instrument. I don't really know how that was part of it, but I did have to do that. And so my boyfriend at the time was a French horn player, and he made me learn the French horn. It was awful. It was horrific.
Oh,
I don't think
no.
I don't even think it sounded like the French horn. I think it was just like a weird, like it sounded more like a cow or something, honestly. But we had to do a lot of different things. Obviously teaching, preparing you for that. But I honestly have to say the way that I have learned the most is just to have so many different students in my life. I mean, I started teaching privately too when I was 18, and I've taught everything from 3-year-olds to 90-year-olds. And
Yeah.
so it's just a lot of it is experience too. And there's only so much you can learn, just sitting and studying teaching, like you really have to get out there and just do it. So it's because everyone is different, like you can't learn everything from a book when it comes to that because all your students are going to be different. So the most important thing, honestly, that I have learned in my years of teaching is just discipline is key. Like you have to have discipline to practice, and no, there's no shortcut. Like I know this from myself too. I wish it was. That would be so great. You could just go on stage and be like, "Ta-da! I haven't done any practice," and this is perfect. But that is the biggest thing when it comes to teaching, and I try to move that onto my students as much as I can.
Mhm.
I have an interesting question, and we are hinting about this a little bit earlier when we started talking about just traveling restrictions because of now. So, as an educator, and I mean, Anthony has felt this too, and me and Michael have slightly felt it just from our private teaching of our students, but it's been very interesting teaching during these times due to everything that's kind of going on in the world, and these things like affect us, right? And it's something that we don't talk about too much, because obviously, even when we're not in a pandemic, obviously students have things they go through that we may not know as teachers and everything. And it's a very interesting kind of balance of knowing when to push and then knowing when there's like a lot happening. And so like I mean this past year it's been a lot going on with not only the pandemic, but also just a lot of political unrest in the states. And for you, like seeing this as someone who like you weren't like born here, like I'm sure that's been insane. And then even seeing your students affected by both of those things, like how has it been as an educator, and what are some things that maybe you've had to adjust, or maybe there were some situations that you had to kind of take a step back and go like, okay, I have to think about the moment we're in right now.
Yeah, that's a great question. It has been tough for, I think, most people, and also the fact that we've had to do most of our teaching online and nobody leaves their house. And I mean, that's tough for anyone, let alone students that are, just trying to get through college life in general. And, I teach mostly, like the like first year students that come into college, and so that's mostly what I do with my class piano that you guys were part of. And poor kids, they're like, oh yay, college, and then it's like, oh, we're just gonna sit in our room and sit on Zoom all day and learn an instrument. Like, I mean, it's just that's not nice for anyone, really. And so it really has been tough on the kids because of that. I obviously, when all of this went down, and from Kennesaw and private students too, I've always tried to just be like, if there's anything you guys ever want to talk to me about, I'm more than happy to do that. And just kind of even if it's not about music, you know, like it could be anything. And I like having that kind of personal relationship with my students, because I think it helps. I think I think it helps their learning curve too. With everything else going on, you know, I haven't talked to my students that much about that, because I feel like it's more of a personal thing that if they want to talk to me about it, they can, but I'm not going to bring it up if, you know, if I don't hear from somebody about it. I also try to stay like pretty neutral, because it's just, you know, I'm a performer as well, and I you know, I don't get into a lot of discussions in general. And coming from Norway, like it's such a I don't know, it's a very easy country. Like, I mean, there's like nothing going on there that's like, I mean, it's like you should see the news headlines. It's like sheep lost in the woods, you know? Like, I mean, that's the kind of stuff that I'm used to. It's like, I mean, it's so funny. Like my brother and I, we read Norwegian news because I honestly, that's what I do. I don't really read American news because I've just, yeah, I've moved away from that a little bit, and I read Norwegian news, and so I get to see where all the sheep are going. But no, but in all seriousness, I try to, you know, I see everybody's points, and I try to help out if I can, and I'm always here to you know, to lend an ear if anybody wants to talk to me about anything, and I try to, and actually, my dad is a psychiatrist, and that helped us a lot growing up. And I think, you know, just, yeah, obviously as an educator, you don't have to be a therapist, but I think that a little bit of that goes into it, actually. I think you have to be sympathetic and helpful in all kinds of ways. And so, especially now in the last couple of years, that has been much more used than usual.
Wow. Yeah, I know. I mean, as teachers, we play the role of kind of everything, from being
Right.
a special teacher to a psychiatrist to sometimes just their friend or their parent or whatever,
Yeah.
especially in times like this. So I just know you were very easy to talk to as a teacher. You know, it was always good to talk to you, especially about, you know, our careers, you know, as we were preparing to leave. So you were definitely a great example to talk to. That was really good.
Thank you. You guys were great. I miss you. Come back. You guys were awesome. Seriously, I'm not just saying that, but you were all wonderful students. So
Oh, thank you.
grateful for
I'm
that.
glad we weren't too bad. We weren't
No,
too
you were not too bad at all.
bad. But I remember actually being in class, and I remember you telling us that you're an artistic director. I'm not even going to try to pronounce the festival because I'm going to butcher it. I promise you I will. Even though I was a vocalist, and I'm pretty sure if you IPA it, I could, but I couldn't find an IPA. But it's you and your brother, y'all are both kind of like over it. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So it's called a Kontiki Chamber Music Festival, and it's from the Kontiki fleet that went over and he had so many different adventures. And there's actually a great movie about it if you have a chance to watch it. It's really interesting. The reason why we started this festival is actually because we were doing a festival together about 10, 11 years ago in California. And we were so busy. Like, we were kind of like a fellowship artists. So like we were like half dead doing this. It was very, very tiring. And we weren't in charge of the programming or anything ourselves either. So like we were sitting there playing like 30 pieces in 3 weeks, and we didn't have a say of what to do. And so we were like, you know what? Like, wouldn't it be so great to be in charge and pick the pieces ourselves and pick the musicians ourselves and just be in charge? And so we started this festival in Norway, and and just invite it when, being in the fields that we are, we know a lot of people, like being an educator, being a concert pianist, a concert master with my brother is, we know a lot of people. And so it's great to be able to invite, these amazing musicians to Norway. And Norway is a great country. So people want to come. And so we've been really lucky to run this festival together. And I think we thought it was going to maybe be a little bit easier than what it is. It's a lot of work. It's we're playing and we're organizing and it's press and it is so much stuff that we have to do, but it's so worth it because you really feel like you're accomplishing something really major when you're done. And also it's so much fun doing it too. We get to play with these incredible artists and being in our home country and with our home audience and everything. And so it's really, really great.
Nice. I just remember you talking about it and I was like, oh my God, how fun would it be to have a whole festival with you and your brother and you're just like out playing and having a great time. Like, oh my goodness.
Yeah. It's good doing things with my brother because it's like, we're really good friends, but even if we argue, it's like we're always going to be friends afterwards, so like we can just kind of be honest all the time because no matter what, like we're always friends in the end. And so we used to fight and argue a lot more. Actually, we don't actually do that much anymore, but it's very helpful to do it with a sibling, that's for sure, because there's a lot of logistics that goes into a music festival.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
So I actually had a question about that because you said are your parents musicians in any way, or like did you guys just kind of come out the womb and were like, yeah, we're just gonna be like crazy prolific musicians that
that would be funny. Like my brother just like coming out the womb with a violin, like, yeah, hello, here I am. So my dad is a psychiatrist. My mom was a professor in Norwegian, French, and psychology, and they both love music. They're not professionals. My dad used to sing. He was an actor. Like he's very artistic. My mom used to play the piano. She was a ballet dancer. Like also very artistic. And so when my brother was born, she stopped working and she was a stay-at-home mom. And so she used to play a lot, the piano a lot. She was just doing that by herself. And so when my brother was 3, she's like, it's so boring playing alone. Like I should play with someone. And so she saw this local ad at our store, like just a grocery store where we live. And it was a little violin for sale. And she's like, oh, great, good times. I'll get my 3-year-old son to play with me. So we'll do some chamber music together. So she bought that for David. And he was just really talented early on. And, he really loved it. And it was just, it was great. And so when I was born, I'm 2 years younger than him. And I wanted to do everything that he did. And, but of course, playing the violin, having 2 years to catch up, I was not as good. So that was a huge fail, and I stopped playing the violin. And then I started just playing on this tiny little piano that we had. It's actually a ship piano. It doesn't even have all the keys. And it's so stupid because we actually have 2 grand pianos in our house. So I don't know why I started on this little one, but it was in my parents' bedroom. And I was like, oh, this is great. And so I started, and then it just kind of worked out. David played the violin, I played the piano. And my first teacher, her name was Ruth. And she was like, maybe, my grandma's age, maybe when I started, and I called her Aunt Ruth because I loved her so much. And she was so amazing. And this is why I feel like education is just so important, because I would never have been where I am now if it wasn't for Aunt Ruth, to just make it fun, but also be strict enough to be like, okay, well, you gotta work, you have to practice, but be encouraging with that. She used to give me little stickers that I put on the pieces that I did, and she knows that I love dogs, so she would have like little dog stickers, and I would be so happy and practice even more because of the dog stickers. And so, it's just it's the combination of both discipline and joy when you're doing it. So, so that's kind of how we both started. And my mom used to say to us when we were kids that discipline gives freedom, and so which I love. Now I can see that even more. I didn't love it all the time when I was a kid, I will admit. But it, we would practice, and then we would be rewarded, with, I don't know, a cookie or whatever it was. I loved cookies when I was young. But we would play outside, or do something that was fun. It wasn't always fun to practice, but it was necessary. And so my parents were very good at combining both, like, the discipline aspects and the fun of it. So I've always found that to be very important.
Well, that discipline definitely played off, especially in your chamber music and your ASO debut in May.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about that and how that came to be and how it felt being on the stage in, like, your home city orchestra now. Like, you've been living in Atlanta for, you said 6-7 years. So that's home city orchestra. So how was that?
Yeah, it was great. It was a lot of fun. I will be lying if I said I wasn't nervous, because I was definitely a little bit nervous because, I think everybody gets a little bit nervous anyway, so it's not like, it's a strange thing or anything, but I only had 2 weeks to do it, because the pianist that was supposed to do the recording and the concert didn't come. So he pulled out of the concert, and they needed someone in 2 weeks. And so it was a little bit frightening. I had played the concerto when I was 11. So that actually, it sounds crazy, but that actually helped a lot, because it was like back here somewhere. It was in the back of my head somewhere. I think I practiced maybe 12 hours a day, something like that. And I set my mind to be like, okay, you know what? I'm going to learn it from memory. I'm going to play it without music. And I want to just feel joy being on stage with ASO, because it's something that I've wanted to do for a long time, because, like you said, it's like my hometown orchestra now. So, it really was an incredible feeling, and we had a lot of fun. The conductor, Peter Ungen, actually is a friend of mine and my brother's, and actually my husband. Both my brother and my husband are huge car people, and so is Peter Ungen, and so we actually had been go-karting before together. all four of us, actually. I had just met my husband at the time, and he was like, oh yeah, let's all go for go-kart. So we went go-karting at Atlanta Motorsports Park. So that was kind of interesting. But it was great to have both my brother there and a conductor that I knew, and all these wonderful people in the orchestra, and it just really felt like it was lifting me up, and it was a great experience, and I hope to do it again, maybe with a little more than 2 weeks notice next time, hopefully.
Well, that story, well, two things. First thing is 12 hours a day, oh my goodness. But second thing, that top 12 hours of the day, you performed that concerto when you were 11 years old.
Yeah.
11. What was I doing at 11? Watching SpongeBob. That's what I was doing at 11. Not a long concerto like that. Oh my goodness. Really have been doing it. Oh my gosh.
It was, I guess I see some videos of me playing when I was younger, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of cute, Like, I have these videos, and I'm like, oh, I guess we were kind of cute. Like, I was a little chubby, My brother he hadn't had braces yet, so his teeth were like out here, and like we were kind of cute, I guess. And so it's fun to watch that now, of course. But yeah, I had a great teacher who told me that I should learn one concerto every year, and I think I started learning with him when I was about 10. So this was one of the first concertos that I actually learned with him. And I'm really glad I did now, because it's great to have like a roster of concertos that you've done, because in case something like this happens, like someone pulls out and you get the opportunity to do something. And it's great to have like a just a list of concertos that you've done before so that you can pick them up quickly. So I'm glad my teacher did that at the time.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
Going back to education for a little bit, you having had the opportunity to study both like here in the States and also in Europe, have you, I'm sure there are so many differences of like or maybe not, maybe there are a lot of actual comparisons. So it's interesting to like to be able to hear the perspective of someone who's been through both ways of training. So what did you find to be different? What did you find to be similar?
Um, that's a great question. The university I went to in London, it was definitely a little bit different, like class wise, like, and also it was smaller, so it was like, we didn't have a campus. It was just like the big building, and we had like one canteen and one common room, and so it was like it was a lot smaller. And the classes that we did were also a little bit different, but similar. Like, for example, the class that I teach now, class piano, is called Keyboard Skills, where I went. And I had to take it too, but we had different levels, as KSU have too. But I was in like the advanced level because pianists obviously already can play. And so I didn't have to really on that. But so we had more like, we had to transpose Brahms symphonies and, just do crazy stuff like that. And so I actually hated that class. so when I was asked to do it at Kennesaw, I was like, oh dear. But, but it's very different in what we did. So I guess, at least I don't have to teach transposing of Brahms symphonies. But it's similar. And one thing that I had, which I loved actually this class, it was business for musicians. And it actually taught me a lot of like, just how to handle myself in a professional life as a musician. I feel like a lot of people just kind of get thrown into it after college, and it's really good to have a little bit of preparation of what's to come. And so that class I really loved, and I don't know if that is at Kennesaw, but I just remember I loved that. And I actually hope that more universities have those types of classes, because I think that really, really helps students going forward after college. Because it's very easy to be like, okay, you sat there, you've worked so hard, you've done all your studying, all your tests, everything, like you've done all of that, and then you're done, and it's like, ooh, what now? How do I get from here with all of these teachers and professors to just being by myself, and it's just me, So I really appreciated that class in particular. And the other stuff that I had at the Royal Academy of Music, like class wise, was, I had a lot of chamber music, which Kennesaw has too. And one of the classes I teach at Kennesaw too is a piano four hands class, a piano ensemble, and we didn't have that at the university that I went to in London. And I wish that we had actually had that. I hadn't done any piano four hands before I came here. And then now a lot of the concerts I do is piano four hands, because actually two of my closest friends are pianists here. So we play a lot together. And it was another reason why I wish we had it, is because pianists tend to be by themselves a lot, because like it's just us. Like we don't have accompanists, like we don't have that. We just kind of sit in a practice room by ourselves. And it's kind of a notion where all pianists hate each other. And it's like a big competition, like we're all kind of like, what's this person doing? And, so I wouldn't say that everyone hated each other at university, but it was definitely a lot of competition. And by doing piano four hands, I think you get to work together and, be the best you can, but working as a team. And so I wish that we had that at my university, which now Kennesaw has. So it's a little bit of, everything a little bit different, but also similarities for sure.
Yeah, I mean and I completely agree with you about the idea of basically just having students get more knowledge about what comes after their education, and we all had to take this class at KSU called, was it Music Entrepreneurship, guys? And it was
Well, it was only y'all,
It was
you,
only
right. It was only
performers.
performers. That's another
yeah.
thing. It was only a class for performers. And it was called Music Entrepreneurship, and it was an online class. And Michael has opinions. But but it was basically
Oh,
it kind of felt like, it was a class where you did your resume, or you cleaned up your resume. If you hadn't ever made a website, you did that. If you did, and it was things like that, which I think some people, like for me, I had a very type A high school teacher who, she very much made me do all that already before I even got there. So it was, for me, it was great to just be able to go, oh, I already have a foundation on this. I can
Mhm.
just kind of build upon it. But I think what more people, what's further than just that type of class, is really the support you need in order to have a successful career once you leave school. Because it's not just, yeah, I mean, you can have a great resume and have a website and have all these other things, but if you don't know how to apply that to
Yeah.
going out and finding the jobs, or finding the, or making the opportunities, then it can really feel like you have no idea what you're really doing. And we unfortunately have seen colleagues and friends who that's been the case for them, where they, even though they're amazing people, amazing players, educators, all that, it just didn't work out, where they just kind of felt like they knew what to do, past, like, or post undergrad.
Mhm.
And so that is a thing that I feel like should be talked about more. And if you have great, like, private lessons teachers, like I had Christina, and Christina prepared me so well
Yeah.
for everything that I wanted to do. And she was so supportive, that she, first of all, she knew that I meant what I said when I wanted to do something. And for her, she was like, well, I know how to support you to get to your next goal. She's still here in my life. I
Yeah.
know I can text her, like, can I, like, play something for you real quick? And, like,
Right.
she'll,
Right.
we'll set up a time, and and
Yeah.
she'll do that. And so it's really important to have these things implemented into the, it shouldn't be a thing that's on the side, and it feels like
Right.
it kind of is. And I especially know Michael has opinions.
I mean, but also to that, I think we really need to make that class, like if we were to do the class, because I think at Kennesaw is not even part of the School of Music. It's a
It's
business.
business.
Yeah. So I think we really need to have that class. And I was thinking to myself, well, I know you're all booked and busy as always, but like you would be the perfect person
Yes.
that class, because you have extensive knowledge of, once you graduate, you are on your own. This is the things that you need to do to go to the next level. So maybe in the future, if you're just like, hey, maybe I want to add something to my little course load, here we go. Let's
Yeah.
do this.
Yeah. Planting seeds. I like
Yes,
it. I
yes.
Well,
like
also, you're in person, not across the pond.
it.
I'm so like no shade, no tea, Kennesaw, but like a class online, it felt like it was like, okay, do this and you'll pass the class. Like you can submit a bad resume and you'll get a good grade. Like it was like you just need these in your portfolio. I was literally, when you were talking about the music business class, I was thinking like, if I ever taught that class, what would I do? Well, your midterm would be a portfolio, a actual CV, actual resume, recordings, teaching philosophy. That's your midterm, and your final would be like you put on a project, not like in theory. No, you actually put on a project. Like if you want to do a chamber music recital for what charity at whatever church, you better get it done by the end of the semester, because that's what you have to do when you're, I feel like, and you live this life more than all of us, because I think you're part of the, is it the Atlanta Chamber Players or the Georgia Chamber Players?
Well, I'm artistic director for the Georgian Chamber Players, but I'm part of both Atlanta Chamber Players and Emory Chamber Players. So yeah,
you do this all the time.
yeah, pretty much. But what you just said, Michael, I mean, that would be great. I mean, like that's like the ideal class right there. And also, if you could maybe have different, like you can have one professor, but if you can have guest lecturers come in that, for example, like, I don't know, a person that's playing with the ASO, for example, like a soloist that comes in just for the week, and you could get guest lectures like that. And so, it definitely, it's planting seeds right now for me.
Yes.
So I'll this won't be the last you'll hear from it.
I know, right? And it's beneficial. Like that is the things that when people think, let's go to college, that's what I want to know. I know college, especially in liberal arts, it's all about philosophies. It's all about, the theoretical side of putting everything together. but I still want to know some, like, what will happen when I graduate? What do I need to do? Because a lot of us, we get left after, my degree is sitting right here in front of my face. Once I get that piece of paper, it's like, all right, so what's next, And so I think that would be a great class, not only at Kennesaw, but at all universities, at all colleges, everywhere. I think that is very beneficial. But to close, I do want to ask you, not only are you well-versed in classical music, but you're also well-versed in popular music. Is it true that you perform with Elton John?
Yes, it is. It's
true. Oh my God.
Well, so actually, Elton went to my university in London. He went to the Royal Academy of Music himself. He's very, very talented. He actually went there as a kid. I don't know if you saw the movie about him, but there's a little bit about him going to a music school, and that is Royal Academy of Music. And so we had this concert put on together, and I got to play with him, and he's amazing and so talented and the sweetest human being you'll ever meet in your life. And I'm a huge fan. So, and I actually think I became more of a fan after playing with him. So, him and all of his band members, like everyone was just the loveliest people. So yeah, I'm very, very happy and grateful I got to play with him.
I don't even know what I would do. Just, oh my goodness. And because he's a pianist as well. So you're just in there like, oh my gosh, like, I messed up, just everything. But
but it's also great because he a lot of pop musicians don't actually know how to read music, and which is fine. They do a lot of things by ear, which is also extremely impressive. But with Elton, like he can play a Beethoven sonata, and then he'll play a pop song after that because he reads music perfectly fine. And I've played with pop musicians before that don't read music, and it's always a little hard for me because I'm like, okay, let's go from that E flat over there, and they're like, oh, what? So it was great. He's amazing and super, super talented. So it was great.
I love it.
Well, it's just been so great, like catching up with you and just thinking about all the amazing things that you're still doing. And I don't know, it's just great to be able to see professors out there doing amazing things and continuously doing amazing things. And it's inspiration for the students to see you out doing exactly what some of them may want to do one day. And so just know that you are a big inspiration to us here at Relative Pitch and all of us individually. And we just wish you the best on your future journeys and everything.
Thank you so much, all of you guys. You are wonderful, and I miss you all.
Right. We'll be back in Atlanta soon. We'll be back.
Yes, please. That would be great. I would love to see you.
Well, guys, make sure to go check out Julie and all the amazing things that she's doing. And we hope you enjoyed the episode. Make sure to check out all the past episodes. Also, go check out that Jamie A recital that we did a few weeks ago. Everything went really well with that. And we were so thankful for all the performers who participated in that. So until then, we'll see you next week. Stay safe. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.